Welcome back to Half the Battle. I'm your host, as always, Daniel Levy, your co-host, Shaq. We're going to be talking UFC Vegas 10, Angela Hill versus Michelle the Karate Hottie Waterson, and Shaq is going down this Saturday night in Las Vegas, Nevada. Angela Hill finally getting rewarded for all her hard work, and she's going to be taking on the fan favorite, Michelle the Karate Hottie Waterson, in the main event.
Yeah, you know, karate hottie Michelle Waterson, she's been a household name for a long time. And Angela Hill, she's kind of had a shaky past, but it's definitely got to respect the hard work that she's been putting in. Now she's a 12-8 fighter. You know, her last fight was very controversial. And I know she's looking to get back in there, so now she gets I know this wasn't the original main event, but hey, it's a big opportunity for both of them, especially for Waterson, who's coming off 2 losses back to back. So, it's a good opportunity for them to get some shine out there and possibly take a big step up in the rankings.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Obviously, Angela Hill making history, being the first ever African-American woman to headline a UFC event, and Michelle Waterson, always puts on an exciting fight. Obviously, she had a main event with Joanna and Jacek. Even took Joanna's back in that fight, which not many people can do. So I'm excited about this main event. Make sure you'll check us out at bestfightpicks.com. And Shaq, let's get right down to business, because first up in the lightweight division, we got a matchup between Brok Weaver, he's 15-5, and Jalin Turner is 9-5. Currently, they got Jalin Turner minus 325. The comeback on Brok Weaver is plus 250. Well, Shaq, firstly, this is a very exciting fight, but man, it's a very frustrating fight just for me personally, and I'll tell you why. I had the plus 160 on Jalin Turner to go out there and beat Thiago Moises. I thought that was a really good fight for him. That fight got canceled. I was going to take the plus 190 on Weaver to go out there and beat Frank Camacho. I thought that was a very good fight for him. But this fight, man, at this current line, I do kind of lean Turner, but there's not much value there. So I think this is a dog or pass situation, but I gotta slightly lean Turner here, man. He's got a lot of physical advantages, and one thing about Weaver, I know Turner's been knocked out in the past, but Weaver isn't really known for knocking too many people out. He's more so known for, kind of having these 3-round brawls, and, he clinches guys up against the fence. He can take their back. And one thing I like about Weaver, though, is after his last fight against Roosevelt Roberts, he felt like he really got embarrassed to a point where he needed to move out of Alabama, and he actually did this camp at ATT, so he's been training with Francisco Trinaldo, Charles Rosa, and, all the great people, all the great fighters they have over there. So that's a step in the right direction. And, man, I feel for him, because I truly believe he was going to go out there and beat Frank Camacho. But this fight is tough. I kind of don't like the 2 weight cuts for Jalin, even though last time I brought up 2 weight cuts, OSP went out there and beat Alonzo no problem at all. So maybe it's not even a big deal at all. But I know that cut to 55 can be brutal, especially for a 6'3" guy. But I'm still going to lean Jalin Turner here. I think he's the longer man. I think he's the more talented guy here, to be quite frank. But I'm kind of sketched out at this line, Shaq. I'm not going to lie. I think it's a dog or pass situation, but I'll take Turner.
Yeah, you make some good points. I'm personally not really high on either guy. I think Turner is definitely more offensively gifted, but Turner's a guy where I feel like, man, if he gets put under pressure, that he could fold, and I've seen him get knocked out more than one time by by lesser competition. I understand he was young at the time of those knockout losses, but at the same time, let's just be honest here. I think I said it before his Moises fight. I mean, the guy's beaten 2 guys that don't belong in the UFC, in my opinion, and Callan Potter and Kulabau, it was a 45er. So, Brok Weaver, I said before his fight with Roosevelt, I don't think he's UFC level. I will say with Brok, at least he's tough. At least he comes to fight. At least he has a spirit about himself. At least, he's not, it's just that he kind of doesn't really have the skills. I mean, you look at his Contender Series fight, and this was the kind of alarming thing for me. I know he won every round in that fight against Rashad Evans' cousin, but man, Rashad Evans' cousin was dealing with some type of injury, and that fight, and I just felt like the margin between them for somebody that was fighting someone kind of injured. I mean, the rounds were still like kind of somewhat close. Like, the guy didn't throw any strikes. Brok didn't really get tested, and then we turned that around into the Kazula Vargas fight, which the fight didn't last that long. But let's just be honest here, Daniel. Me and you both know Kazula Vargas probably ain't winning a UFC fight, and he was out there, mollywhopping Brok Weaver, taking him down, beating him up for for however long it lasted. And then Roosevelt Robert, he got severely outclassed and beaten in every aspect of the game. So, you know, Brock Weaver, I feel like this is his job's on the line. I personally don't think he's UFC level, but in this matchup, I think there's some value just because Turner is like, I feel like he still has a lot to prove, man. That this guy is a guy that me and you a year or so ago was saying, doesn't belong here. He's got no chin, and I know he's got 2 wins, but let's see him beat someone. This would be his first like real win in my opinion. I like Callan Potter. Those are tough guys, but they're slow. They're punching bags. They're not going to be here in a year. So I'm interested to see this fight and how he does. I'll pick him, but I think there's some value on Brock. I don't think Turner should be that high against too many people unless we're talking like a 45er in Callan Potter. But we'll see if Brock is on that level of UFC fighter too.
Now, next up in the heavyweight division, we got a matchup between Alexander Romanov, he's 11-0, and Roque Martinez is 15-5. Currently, they got Alexander Romanov minus 280. The comeback on Roque Martinez is plus 220. Well, Shaq, Romanov, once again, opened a huge favorite. He opened minus 400. Now he's only minus 280. He's taking on Roque Martinez. And look, Martinez is an experienced guy. He's had over 20 pro fights and actually holds a win over UFC light heavyweight prospect Da Un Jung. So, I mean, he's been in there with some tough guys. But it seems like every time he steps up in competition, to an extent, he loses. He lost to JQ and lost to Mirko Krokop. What do you think about Alexander Romanov's UFC debut here?
Yeah, I actually think this is a better fight for him. I know De Lima doesn't have any ground game, but man, Romanov's striking, I'm not going to say it's shaky, but it worries me. I don't like the way he leads in with these kicks with his hands down, and I feel like his record is very inflated. I know the guys that he fought had good records, but man, if you look into those guys, man, they're seen where he's from, Moldova, wherever local scene. I'm telling you, man, the heavyweights are like middleweights and they're like 205ers. Like Romanov is not no rush, like this serious Russian. Like I think he's all right, but I think this is a better fight for him. Roque Martinez, kind of like a tough, journeyman type of fighter, decent everywhere. But I think Romanov should be able to out-physical him, especially in the clinch, maybe get him down a few times. But he needs to, be safe on the feet because I see him make a lot of mistakes that I feel like at heavyweight in the UFC. Like De Lima, I really felt like he could have put him down early possibly. But I think he'll get the job done here.
Yeah, I mean, look, according to the odds, this is a much better matchup for Alexander Romanov than the Marcin Tybura or the Marcos Rogerio De Lima Pesao fights were. So it's interesting that he was close to a pick'em in those fights. He's a big favorite here. But I mean, like you said, Roque Martinez, the times he stepped up, he's lost, and he's just kind of like you said, just an average fighter. But, he's got 20 pro fights, so we got to give him a little credit. But yeah, I agree, man. I think that Romanov can get off on his takedowns here. He's got that Moldovan background, and he goes for mad takedowns, and, he's got some funny-looking ground and pound. The only thing I didn't like is in that last fight versus some dude that, I think might have had a losing record or, clearly didn't belong. Like, dude got back up, from the first takedown, no problem. So that kind of worried me, but eventually he got him down again. He finished the fight. I'm going to take Alexander Romanov here to win this fight. I kind of wish I knew more about Roque. Even though he's had 20 fights, I want to see how he performs in the UFC, but I got to go with Romanov here to get this done. Now, next up in the bantamweight division, we got a matchup between Julia Avila, she's 8-1, and Sijara Eubanks is 5-4. Currently, they got Julia Avila minus 290. The comeback on Sijara Eubanks is plus 245. I like this fight a lot, Shaq, because obviously Julia Avila, she's been going out there. She's been doing her thing. She's been knocking girls out in the first round, which is something that's always very exciting to watch. And I've been seeing a lot of people saying that this is a dog or pass fight, and I get where they're coming from. Oftentimes when you see, these competitive women's fights, they go to split decision. So when you see a plus 245 dog, I understand why you can be tempted. The thing is that I really only see Sijara having success in that first round, man. I feel like Sijara might even come out here and straight up win the first round. But historically speaking, she does tend to slow down, and Sorry to bring up the 2 weight cuts again, but 2 weight cuts again. And she's already had an issue with, her pacing after the first round. Now she's, 35, 36 years old. So I don't really see that being something that's going to improve. Maybe it does. Maybe I'm completely wrong. But that's kind of what cost her in that Betch Correia fight and in other losses. I'm going to lean with Avila. I think she's going to take over the second or third round, come out here and win a unanimous decision.
Yeah, this is one of those fights where I got Avila as well. It's just I do think the line's a little inflated just due to the fact that one's a lot more tested than the other one. I think Avila's got more talent, more potential, harder hitter. Uh, you know, I feel like she's got the higher ceiling for sure. It's just her best win is Kianzad, who was on short notice for that fight. So Eubanks, like I said before her fight with Carol Rosa, I feel like she's a somewhat of a front runner. I feel like when the going gets tough, that she kind of just falls apart. And what one common theme in all of her wins is, man, they're dominant. They're landslide wins. Like Lauren Murphy, she won every round. Roxanne Modeffari won every round. But anytime there's like a back and forth, like where two, they're both meeting toe to toe, man, she always falls. She always falls back. Aspen Ladd 2 times. The Betch Correia fight, which is like, man, you can't beat Betch Correia at this point. It was like, 1-10 in her last few fights. It's kind of like, man, you can't look at what Kianzad did to Betch Correia, man. Molly was out there molly-whopping her. So it's like, it's kind of alarming she couldn't do that, but I will say, she does have the takedowns, which we have yet to see Avila, compete against someone, anyone relevant in that aspect of the game. Sijara does get takedowns. She does have some good boxing, so I do think it's the best test. So -310 is a little much, but I gotta go with Avila, man. I just don't like some of the intangibles from Eubanks, but we're gonna find out a lot about Avila. I feel like this is her first like real fight, against a chick that was supposed to, fight for the title. So we'll see what happens.
Now, next up in the lightweight division, we got a matchup between Bobby King Green, is 26-10, and Alan Patrick is 15-2. Currently, they got Bobby Green -255. The comeback on Alan Patrick is +215. So I got to know if you agree with this line. And the reason I ask is because I know Alan Patrick went out there and he didn't just lose his last fight. I know he kind of got embarrassed his last fight. But the fight prior to that, I know if you're a DraftKings player, you know exactly who Alan Patrick is because he went out there and scored 9 takedowns against Damir Hadzovic. But, he's kind of a one-dimensional guy. He's very athletic. I mean, interestingly enough, he was the guy that was out there doing backflips at the weigh-ins before Michel Pereira. So I know you remember that, Shaq. But in this fight, it's one of those situations, man, where I feel like Bobby Green does his best when he's fighting consistently. I like the fact that he's taking all these fights back-to-back in 2020. He's staying in shape, doesn't give himself a chance to get out of shape, to balloon up, or to do anything among those lines. And I felt like his last fight against Clay Guida was the best he's looked, or actually his last fight, the time we saw him against Lando Venata, the rematch, that was one of the best performances of Bobby Green's entire career. So to see him, at this point, still be able to go out there and put up numbers like that, put on a show like that, a well-rounded MMA clinic, I was very impressed with that. So how you see this fight going down, Shaq?
Yeah, I feel like Patrick, he's got the 15-2, 16-2 record, but man, I feel like he, like you said, one-dimensional, all that. Bobby Green, I like you said, I like how he's fighting frequently. He's doing this just so he doesn't, get out of shape, because Bobby's got a crazy life, he might, he's just trying to stay in there. So I like, they used to call Bobby Mr. Short Notice back in the day, man. He's trying to get back to those ways. So, I feel like Alan Patrick, the one thing he has going for him, he's big, he's strong, and he's a jiu-jitsu world champion. I mean, he can hold on and clinch and hug on and try to backpack. But let's just be honest here. Damir Hadzovic can't stuff a takedown for his life. We just saw what Moicano did to him in 20-something seconds. Like, boom, Damir, he can't even beat Christos Giagos. Damir can't wrestle. So this is a proven fact. And then his other fights like Stevie Ray. I like Stevie beat Michael Johnson, but I wouldn't consider him a fighter on Bobby Green's caliber. So yeah, man, I feel like yes, the line is wide, but I feel like, man, this is the best Bob. Like we're getting Bobby 3 fights in a row. Like we usually don't get this. Like I feel like this means Bobby's actually taking things seriously right now. Like pretty much the majority of Bobby's career, it's been kind of chaotic, man. Like so now, he paid off his house with the 50 G's. With the 50 Gs from the Venata fight. I feel like Bobby Green's always been known for his grappling. Who you ever seen out there just out grappling Bobby Green? I mean, the dude's grappling is slick as hell, man. He doesn't really have the submissions, but the wrestling and the scrambles are on point. So I feel like he can defend in those spots. Let's just be honest. There is times where dudes do hug his back, so it is a worry. Like Patrick is strong, he might be able to make this a little closer early on than a what's the line, -3 something, -270, 80 something.
-255.
-255. So yeah, I feel like he could make it a little sketchy early on, but man, Patrick has some bad habits on the feet where he's overextending with this left hand. And the Holtzman fight, it was kind of easy for Scotty to just slip that and bang the right hand and kind of make him look silly. So I feel like Bobby Green will make Alan Patrick look silly if he can make him tire out and make him strike. And then I think you're going to see Bobby Green start talking in there and start, smacking people around, like kind of like Michelle Pereira did last week,
Yeah, no, I feel like having no audience there, now the judges can actually see the work that Bobby Green's doing in there, and he doesn't just look like that guy that's talking shit the entire time. Now you can hear the sounds that sounds of the shots that he's landing, so that's a really good thing. And I agree with you. Patrick is extremely one-dimensional, man. He's very athletic, though. I mean, he does have some nice capoeira kicks, but once all that's done and it's time to get down to the nitty-gritty, I mean, he will kind of dive from a mile out for these takedowns, and if he doesn't get it, he does not look that good. So I think he only has one path to victory, man. I feel like he has to a lot of Patrick winning this fight is contingent on him laying on Bobby Green or maybe landing like a spin kick knockout, which I don't see happening. So he's got to lay on Bobby Green. I don't think anyone's ever laid on Bobby Green in the UFC ever. So I'm going Bobby Green here. I think he pops back the head of Alan Patrick. I think he stuffs the takedowns. I think he keeps it standing, and I think he might actually put on a show here. So I'm going Bobby Green and get it done. Now, next up in the flyweight division, we got a matchup between Sabina Mazo, she's 8-1, and Justine Kish is 7-2. Currently, they got Sabina Mazo -245. The comeback on Justine Kish is +205. Shaq, I mean, Justine Kish has got wins over Nina Ansaroff, over Randa Marco. She's very experienced. She's been in the UFC for a long time. And Sabina Mazo has been a hype train this entire time. But I feel like she has been making progress. The thing is, do you think that the progress and the results she's shown warrant this -245 price tag here?
I feel like it's an interesting fight because it's like, all the data would, say this is a perfect spot for Mazo to come through. I mean, she's, I think, 10 years or more younger. She's got, not too many girls at 125 are going to be bigger than her. She's super tall, super long. She comes from the good camp. She's got all these Marvin, Benil, Giga, all these guys, helping her. I heard Cyborg's even been taking her under her wing a little bit. And then you got Kish, who's just tough. I feel like Kish, isn't the same fighter she was, around the Androv times and, around those times. Like, I know she had the knee surgeries. And, man, to be honest, like, I feel like Kish, I feel like Kish really isn't that good, to be honest. I really wasn't impressed by her last performance against Pudilova. I feel like it was more of Pudilova, just like I feel like Pudilova hasn't been the same since that Aldana fight. I don't know what happened after that Aldana fight. It's crazy because one went upwards and the other went completely downwards. But, I feel like it was more so the Pudilova not pulling the trigger. And I feel like Keith just is the same thing, man. She's aggressive. She's tough. She's going to push, but it's nothing, she's more of a intangible. It's really about if is Mazo going to let her push her against the fence and outwork her. And Mazo, in her 3 fights, the Moroz fight didn't go her way. She did win the 3rd round. The thing is, I'm seeing is it seems like she drops the 1st round big. Like, the 1st round, she just like, isn't woken up yet. The JJ Aldrich fight, she got tagged up a bunch of times, nose bleeding, but she was able to regroup and start to use her range, her length. And I feel like when she uses her range, her jab, and her kicks, man, she can really, land the head kick against these girls and start to do damage. It's just that, these two fights, she has had to come from behind. So, I don't think Kish has the offensive boxing like JJ Aldridge, how JJ's got the left hand, and Marina Moroz. I mean, she's been doing her thing as well. She also dominated Shayna Dobson, but I will acknowledge Keisha's like Keisha will go for it. At least Keisha she'll press. It's just Keisha gets hit too much. She squares her stance a lot. I feel like she's at a big range disadvantage, and I really don't see much improvement in the last years. I think she's tough, but I gotta go with Mazo minus 240. Has she done enough to be minus 240 yet? But I think it's more so. I think it's more so just the physical thing she has going for her, the age gap in between the girls. Historically speaking, this usually goes in Mazo's favor. So I'll go with Mazo for a decision win. I just think she touches Keisha up a little bit more than Keisha touches her. But we'll see if this is one of those close type of 1-1 fights.
Man, I think it might be. I was, like you were saying, before the surgery, before the Felice Herrig fight, I was actually a little bit high on Justine Kish. I like the fact that she's super intense for the weight class. She can push a pace. She goes forward the entire time. And in a weight class like that, it's important to have someone that, will just push that pace and, fight the entire time. That's something we really liked about her because this weight class isn't really known for too many knockouts. So she can eat the shots, just go forward and break these girls. And you saw that in the fights against Yoder. You saw that in those fights she won. So I wish she could get back to that. It's been a long time since we've seen that. I agree with you. That Lucy Pudilova fight, all credit to Justine Kish because she won that fight fair and square, no questions asked. But you're right. I mean, Lucy didn't fight that fight. I don't know why. I mean, credit to Kish, but Lucy did not fight. I think Sabina's going to fight here. So I'm just curious what happens because it's like Justine's known for her output. And according to the numbers, Sabina has more output than her. Also, the 10-year age difference. There's a reach difference, a height difference. I'm going to lean Sabina Mazo here. I'm just not convinced she looks minus 250 in this spot. So it might be a dog or pass situation, but I'm going to lean with Mazo. We'll see what happens. Now, next up in the lightweight division, we got a matchup, a grudge match, Shaq, between Roosevelt Roberts, he's 10-2, and Matt Steamroller Frevola is 8-1. Currently, they got Roosevelt Roberts minus 115. The comeback on Steamroller Frevola is minus 105. So Roosevelt Roberts has been asking for Matt Frevola pretty much after every win for the longest time. And this Saturday night in Las Vegas, Nevada, he gets Matt Frevola. And interestingly enough, this is the third 6'3" guy Matt Frevola has fought in a row. He fought Jalin Turner. He fought Luis Pena. So he knows what that long body is like. And even though at times it'll look a little bit like he's a bit uncomfortable on the feet, I don't think that has to do with Frevola's skills. I think it more so has to do with you can fight 10 6'3" guys in a row, and it's always going to be tough because, they got some natural gifts, some natural abilities, and just that height is something to deal with. That reach is something to deal with. But that being said, man, look, I do acknowledge the fact that I think Roosevelt actually does have some better grappling than both Pena and Turner. But I also feel like there is a bit of a mean streak missing there. I do notice him, giving up a lot of position, even in fights he wins. So that kind of leads me to believe that, look, there is a chance that Roosevelt can choke him out because let's say Matt takes a bad shot, those long arms, maybe Roosevelt can get off on a choke or something like that. But if that doesn't happen and no one gets finished, I see this being the kind of fight that's 1-1 going into the third round. And what's one thing I can rely on Matt Frevola for, Shaq? I know he's going to get that takedown in the third round when it's 1-1. I know he can keep that top position. I know he's the guy that's going to dig deep, bite down on that mouthpiece, and go out there and get the dub. So I'm going to pick Matt Frevola via controversial split decision here.
Yeah, I feel like Frevola's an underrated guy. Roosevelt, very talented guy. I feel like Roosevelt's got probably the better skills, but Frevola's got the better will. Frevola, he the issue with Frevola is he is a liability to get dropped. I mean, he is fighting, 6'3" guys. He gets dropped a lot in his fights. Let's just be honest. Like, he gets hurt in a lot of his fights. But man, I love that the kid just stays in there, and he in these hustle spots, these chain wrestling spots, like the Turner fight, where Turner would stop the initial one, but then he'd stop, and Frevola would just keep going, like shit like that. Frevola doesn't stop, man. He's a dog. And then Roosevelt, that's where I question. I feel like he's got the talent, but does he have that dog in him? And the reason why I say that is that last fight, with Jim Miller. For example, I know for a fact, look, Jim Miller's got a bunch of subs, nasty arm bars and all that, but I know for a fact if you put Frevola in that spot, Frevola ain't tapping like that. I felt like Roosevelt honestly didn't care. Like, it was like, well, he got me. I feel like Frevola would have been like, like, you're gonna have to break my arm. Like, you're gonna have to rip this thing off, bro, for me to tap. Like, I just feel like there's a big difference in the will and the heart between the two. So I feel like it's just gonna be a matter of kind of like these last two fights with Pena and Turner, of him not getting pushed back too much. And I mean, he has backed up against both those guys, and they both caught him with some nice shots. And there's a good chance that happens here. It's just, man, if Frevola can just limit the amount of times that he gets wobbled and hurt, I know for a fact he will break Roosevelt Roberts. He's tougher than Roberts. He's willing to go to a deeper place than Roberts. It's just a matter of Matt, please don't get hurt too many times, bro. It's an issue for him. But man, he's in good shape. He stays running. He stays moving. And and I feel like his striking's underrated too, man. He had some good success against Venata. I feel like he had some success against Turner too, catching him with overhand rights here and there. So I feel like he is improving. Him and his teammate Billy Q, man, they got those intangibles, man. They turn it up when the fight gets in the late rounds.
How do you compare Roosevelt Roberts' striking ability and his, danger factor to the last guys that Frevola fought, Pena and Turner?
Yeah, I feel like he doesn't have, I feel like Turner has more power. Will probably take a little more chances, but I feel like Turner, defensively speaking, Roosevelt's probably better than. I feel like Turner gets hit with big shots too much. And then Pena, yeah, I'd say Roosevelt has better striking than both of them. Pena's not that comfortable yet on the feet. But at the same time, man, Pena's out here fighting like fucking Khama Worthy and shit, like fucking and some other guys. Who'd he fight again? Who was his other loss? Before Khama Worthy. Frevola, yeah. But yeah, I think Roosevelt's got. I just don't see him knocking out Matt, but yeah, I feel like maybe he can stun him and then take a bad shot. Possibly he does have those long arms, but his last fight against Brock Weaver, I feel like Brock Weaver, man, was kind of almost I felt like Brock. Honestly, he could have. That was probably the best he looked, but I felt like, man, Brock just either throwing a 1 and 2, and then he was trying to press him, and it just wasn't working. I felt like he was just. Honestly, not UFC level. So we'll see. But the thing I didn't like, man, in that Miller fight was just I felt like he didn't try to fight that armbar, man. I just felt like he was look, I know it's Jim Miller. I know he's got a bunch of subs, but damn, I just know some other dudes would have been in there scratching and clawing and trying to get out of that thing. I felt like Roosevelt was just you got it,
Yeah, I feel what you're saying. So next up in the welterweight division, we got the return of Bryan Barberena. He's 14-7, and Anthony Ivy is 8-3. Currently, they got Bryan Barberena -270. The comeback on Anthony Ivy is +230. So a lot to talk about in this fight, man. Obviously, Anthony Ivy, his last fight, if that's the only fight you've ever seen of him, I can see why you'd never pick him again. But when I heard the backstory, I mean, he said that he got the call, and literally there was no training camp. It was basically get the call, go cut weight, and then get into a fight with a guy with double-digit knockouts. So I kind of feel for him. I feel like this time he had a full camp. This time he'll have a better account of himself. And with Bryan Barberena, shout out to James Lynch, but I heard James Lynch's interview with Bryan Barberena, and Barberena said that he started, this camp at 240 pounds. That's a 70-pound weight cut, man. That's a That's a lot of weight. Now I know, he's probably, 190 right now or whatever, no big deal. But I'm saying to start the camp at 240, to drop 70 pounds throughout this camp, that means that this camp was, more about losing weight than it was about, working on other skill sets or the strength and conditioning or whatever the case may be. So I don't know, man. That's really sketchy for me. How you see this one going down?
Yeah, man, it's an interesting fight to me because a lot of times, man, I've been learning you can't judge these dudes by the debut. For example, look at Tyler Santos. Like she lost to Mara Barella, and turns out, in her post fight interview when she beat Molly McCann, she said that she was extremely nervous. I think it might have been like the first fight her mom ever went to or some shit like that. So it was like, you got, and like Anthony Ivy, like you said, he was probably a whirlwind. He probably wasn't even ready to go. Like, Christian Aguilera isn't that good, and it is somewhat alarming that he kind of took one punch. But I feel like Aguilera at this point, man. Look, I love Barb. I bet on Barb to beat Warley Alves and Sage Northcutt, man, back in the day. So I love Barb. It's just like I thought Barb was retired. I thought he retired. But I think what this is, man, is that Barb realized, owning and operating that farm, man, and it ain't cheap. Where else can he come get a big payday like this, man? And man, like just from, I follow Barb on IG, man, these months, like you said, 240 pounds. Like I've been seeing heavyweight Barb, man. I've been seeing Barb, drinking beers and, out there on the farm enjoying retirement, man, so man, I actually think there is value on Anthony Ivy. I feel like this line is wide due to the fact that because, a lot of people think he quit his last fight after one punch. And if that's the case and Barb touches him up here and he goes down, then hey, we'll know that Anthony Ivy just isn't UFC level. But other than that, I mean, yeah, I know his stand-up isn't very good, but he's a grappler. But man, Barb struggled in the grappling in the past. He struggled when guys hold on to him and clinch him. And I feel like Anthony Ivy's got some good athletic traits. He's long and I feel like he'll have a better account of himself if he's actually coming to fight, man. I just realized that sometimes these debuts, especially the short notice ones, man, they can be disastrous for some dudes. It's like it's pretty much you have to come take this ass whooping to get into the UFC. But yeah, man, I wouldn't trust Barb at a line like that. Barb retired. Like I remember after the Randy Brown fight, he said he was done. He said, I've had a good run, but this is it. And a lot of times, man, you come out of retirement and I'm gonna go with Ivy, man. I think he gets the upset, man. I think he clinches on the Barb. I think it's gonna be an ugly, ugly, ugly fight. A sloppy fight. But I think he's gonna hug Barberena, keep him in the clinch, and win a close decision, man. I think there's some value on his line. I feel like we can't fully judge him based on that one fight.
It's funny because I thought we were going to disagree on this one, but listen, I agree with Barb being favored. We don't gotta. No one's got to debate that with me. Barb should be the favorite here. Barb's been in there with better fighters. He's been in there with Colby, Leon, Randy, Vicente. Now, granted, he lost all those guys, but he's still been in there with all those guys. And, if you see Ivy get knocked out by Aguilera, you also know Barb's knocked out Jake Ellenberger and Joe Proctor in the first round. So he's got some first-round knockouts, too. But, man, 240 pounds to 170 pounds in a span of a couple months. That just does not sit right with me. Now, I could be way off, and maybe at the weigh-ins we see him with like a six-pack or something, but I just don't see that happening, man. It's like this guy used to be a 55er, but he likes to eat. He likes to drink his beer on a Sunday. You know what I mean? So he moves up to 70. Now it's like we're thinking he might need to move up to 85. So I don't know, man. It's very sketchy, and at least with Ivy, like I told you, that last one he got the call, cut weight, and then got into a fight. Didn't even have a camp. This time he's going to have a full camp, so we're going to see what he's really about. Just because of where the line is, I'm going to take Ivy as well. We'll see what happens on Saturday night. Now, next up in the flyweight division, we got a matchup between Matt Chanel, he's 14-5, and Tyson Nam is 19-11. Currently, they got Tyson Nam minus 115 and Matt Schnell is minus 105. So I just got to point out, Schnell actually did this camp at Fortis MMA. So that's pretty cool. But, man, I feel like it comes down to basically one thing here. And you know damn well what that one thing is, Shaq. I mean, look, Schnell is probably the better fighter across the board, except in one very key spot. You got one of the best knockout artists in the history of the flyweight division in Tyson Nam taking on a guy with a historically weak chin in Matt Schnell. So, period, point blank, do you think that Tyson Nam comes out here and knocks out Matt Schnell?
Yeah, man, this is a good fight because Tyson, coming off that vicious knockout, granted it was against a guy who I also don't believe, it was a short notice guy. And then, Schnell, who was on a lot of people thought he was on this resurgence, but man, I'll go ahead and say that whole Matt Schnell resurgence talk it's a joke. I mean, he barely beat Naoki Inoue in a back and forth fight. He got the finish over Luis Smolka, who, I like Smolka, but come on now. and then the win over Marco Beltran, man. So it was like, and he did finish Jordan Espinoza in the first round. I don't know what Jordan was doing in that fight. But hey, he did do that. But man, what's kind of weird, like the way he fought against Pantoja, like I get it, taking an L to Pantoja was probably expected, but it was the way he went about it. And I was like, dude, what are you doing? Like he just came out and like almost kind of like was pulling an Agapova. Like I'm like, bro, there's 15 minutes to fight. Like he came out there trying to knock Pantoja out right off the bat, man, and kind of went on a mini suicide mission and got knocked out in brutal fashion, face first. And that's not the first time my boy Matty's been KO'd unconscious. Now Tyson Nam, like you said, has dished out some vicious knockouts along his career. The issue with him is going to decisions. As the fights progress, he kind of gets one dimensional, doesn't throw kicks, only punches, a little flat footed. But man, I feel like he's not fighting a Kai Kara France. Kai Kara France was like top 7, 8, like definitely a top 10 guy. And Sergio Pettis, who was a top 5 bantamweight, you know what I'm saying? So, I feel like, yeah, Schnell is probably a little quicker on his feet, more athletic, faster, probably the better athletic fighter. It's just that, man, I feel like Tyson Nam's got a lot of reach. He has got a big presence about him. He walks guys down. Like, I like the spots he was in the Kai Kara France. It was just Kai Kara France is too good. He, those big right hands or, Kai Kara beat Paiva, So, I actually think Tyson Nam's going to come out here and get a knockout win, man. I actually think that knockout win he just got might give him a little momentum. And, so what if Schnell did this camp at Fortis, man? Just, you can still lose a fight training at Fortis, but yeah, I feel like if Schnell plays it smart, but man, I feel like he's honestly more of a guy that kind of has to, finish guys, man. He's more, I feel like if he has to go 3 rounds against anyone not named Marco Beltran or, Mizuki Inoue's little bro, he might have trouble. So I'm actually going to go with Tyson Nam. I think he gets another vicious knockout on Saturday, man. I feel like he walks Matt Schnell down and eventually finds a home for one of them right hands.
Look, Matt Schnell is really exciting to watch, and his technique everywhere is really awesome, man. It's just that, it's like what Floyd Mayweather always talked about. The kid can give it, but can he take it too? And it's been proven historically that he just can't take it. So it's unfortunate. He's going to win a lot of fights off his skill alone. I mean, like I said, he's good everywhere the fight goes. There's not one spot that Schnell is bad in. It's just that, this chin thing is not, it didn't just start with the Rob Font fight. I know you remember when it really started. I know Shaq knows the origins of when it started. It started with that Jonathan Martinez KO. It's just no one knows about it because
Jonathan Martinez knocked him out unconscious.
Yeah, it says it's a win for Schnell, so no one goes back and rewatches what actually happened. He was knocked unconscious, but it was an illegal knee, so they called it a DQ. And officially, it's a win on Schnell's record. But that's when the chin issues really started. Then the Robbie Font fight, and then the Hector Sandoval fight was very alarming. I mean, I was in attendance in Nashville, Tennessee. I saw that firsthand. It was like a 1-inch punch, man. It was like, damn. But I got to give him credit. He bounced back after that, got on a win streak, even beat Espinoza, which I did not expect to happen. But here, he likes to brawl too much. And even when he kind of fights, with that point fighting style and tries to get pretty in there, he's still open for counters. And I know Naoki, in a way, doesn't have that one-punch knockout power. I know Marco Psycho Beltran doesn't have that one-punch knockout power, but Tyson Nam does. I mean, he's been getting big knockouts for a long time, against Eduardo Dantas, against Ali Bagautinov, and I think Saturday night is going to add to that list. I'm going Tyson Nam via a vicious knockout here. Now, next up in the light heavyweight division, we got a matchup between slow Mike Rodriguez, he's 11-4, and Ed Shortfuse Herman is 24-14. Currently, they got slow Mike Rodriguez minus 245. The comeback on Ed Herman is plus 205. Man, this is interesting because first glance, I think it's Mike Rodriguez first round KO or shit gets sketchy if it goes past the first round. They have a little clinch battle. Both guys love their Muay Thai clinch. Ed Shortfuse is very experienced. But I spoke to Tyson Chartier. I had him on half the battle. I spoke to him and I asked him straight up. I didn't hold back. I said, look, Rodriguez is one of the most talented guys we've ever seen. 6'4", the 80-inch reach, the whole bit. Offensively speaking, is beautiful to watch. But what happens when it goes past the first round? Now, according to Tyson, he said that that's something that Mike Rodriguez has addressed, and he said that that's something that Rodriguez actually wants to prove that he can go 3 rounds. Now, I'd prefer for Rodriguez to come out here and get a first-round knockout than to prove that he can go 3, but at least it's something that the camp is aware of. It's something they're addressing, and it's something that they wanna fix this issue. So at least they're tackling it head on. So I'm happy to hear that. But that being said, I'm still worried because I gotta see it to believe it. I'm still worried if this goes past the first. But I think there's a chance it doesn't go past the first. So I'm gonna go with Mike Rodriguez via first round knockout here.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of like Mazo and Kish. It's like, all the data would say, Mike should get on a 2-fight win streak. He's more than 10 years young. Is he right? I'm pretty sure he is. He's more than 10 years younger. He's faster, stronger, younger, less damage, even though he has taken some a knockout loss. But, I feel like the dudes he lost to are actually somewhat underrated, John Allen and Da-Un Jung. I feel like those dudes are a lot younger. And Shortfuse, Shortfuse is a vet, but let's just be honest here. I know he's on a win streak, but he fought a complete bum named Khadis Ibrahimov, and did you not see Khadis Ibrahimov's UFC stint? I mean, it wasn't pretty, Dan. I mean, and then he fought Patrick Cummins, who retired after that. So let's not forget that Ed Shortfuse lost the decision. When the fight did go past the first round to Jan Vellante not too long ago. You know what I'm saying? So let's just not forget that. So, man, I feel like Rodriguez, his clinch defense worries me. But, man, I don't really see Ed being a guy that, is out here looking for takedowns. I feel like he's more of like a manipulator in the clinch, like looking to land the knees. But, man, I feel like it's going to be very hard to do that against someone with the height and stature like Mike Rodriguez. And I do see a big discrepancy in the hand speed. I feel like Rodriguez should honestly, if he's feeling confident now that he's got that easy knockout win over Prachnio, if he feel like he's gotten his mojo back a little bit, I feel like he should honestly come out here and run through Shortfuse Herman just like how he did Prachnio. Shortfuse is a tough guy to stop, but he has been getting wobbled. I feel like he doesn't move much. He's just a tough guy, but I know he'll take, I know he'll show Cadiz in these, young guys, those vet lessons. But Rodriguez, now that he's got some L's and he's got some more experience, I actually feel like he will come out here and run through at a Shortfuse Herman, probably touch him up with the left knee somewhere and get him out of there. Shortfuse is a tough customer, but there's been no improvement, man. He fought, a kid and Patrick Cummins on his last fight. So we'll see what happens. But I got to go with Mike Rodriguez.
Now, next up in the featherweight division, we got a matchup between Billy Quarantillo. He's 14-2, and Kyle Nelson is 13-3. Currently, they got Billy Quarantillo minus 250. The comeback on Kyle Nelson is plus 210. I feel like it's first round or bust for Kyle Nelson. In that first round, the kid throws heavy. And interesting enough, both these guys got a knockout win over a co-main eventer, Khama Worthy, back at 145 pounds. So Billy gets off the slow starts. He's got a reputation for being a comeback kid, and he might have to get another comeback here, Shaq, because, again, Kyle Nelson comes out hard that first round, hits like a truck. Also, he's got some decent grappling while he's fresh, too. It's just that, historically speaking, when fights get extended, when it's, when you got to bite down on that mouthpiece and both guys are tired, Kyle Nelson does not excel in those kind of fights, and Billy Q does. So Billy Q should 100% be favored here. It's just there's a chance he might get knocked out in that first round. That's what you got to be worried about. But if he does not get knocked out in that first round, I see him coming back to actually submit Kyle Nelson. So I'm going to go with Billy Q to get it done.
Yeah, this is actually one of the fights where I'm surprisingly, I know a lot of people are saying that Dogger pass and, Nelson can win. Look, yeah, Billy Q loses pretty much all his first rounds, 100%, man. But, man, I actually think, this line's warranted, man. And I'll tell you why, because I feel like Kyle Nelson's a big front runner, man. I feel like, and I'll just say this just by listening to his interviews, just the way he talks, man, you can he's very cocky, the dude's like 1-2 in the UFC, but he's very which is there's nothing wrong with that at all. But when you ask him how the fights are gonna go, he has a very detailed plan. And sometimes when I say a detailed plan, I mean he's got a plan for every stage. And man, it's some dudes like that, man. That's how they think too much in the cage, and that's when how you're saying when the going gets tough. I feel like when the going gets tough, that's why we've seen him crumble. Granted, yeah, he has had that big first. He had a good first round against Carlos Diego, but I mean, how'd you think his first round against Matt Sells went? I didn't think that first round was all that good. I saw him out there getting fucking beat on badly.
That's true.
So this whole he's a beast in the first round thing, I mean, is he? I saw Matt Sells, who ain't looking too hot lately himself either, come out here and was literally Bisping was screaming from the side of the cage for them to stop the fight. So I wouldn't be so sold on this whole first round thing. I get it. Billy Quarantillo is a very slow starter, but man, once that second round, or even the end of that first round, second round, man, this dude turns up in a way, man. He goes after these dudes. Billy Q's that dude where he doesn't stop. He ain't gonna stop throwing up submissions. His striking's not pretty, but it's just the pace, the will, the heart, man. I feel like he will definitely break Kyle Nelson, kind of like what you were saying. But Kyle Nelson, yeah, he does throw big bombs early, but man, he only knocked out Polo Reyes, who, has got no chin. Polo Reyes actually knocked out Frevola, but we know he was on steroids that night. So I feel like, man, I honestly feel like Kyle Nelson's a front runner. Yeah, he's got some big power, but man, if this fight hits the second round, man, you best believe Billy Q is gonna not only break him, but break him very badly. Make him possibly quit. That Matt Sells fight's alarming, man, because look, that third round, he was honestly pressing him, but then he shoots in for a takedown, just falls over completely and gives up an arm triangle that easily, man. Oh my God, you let Billy Q, you give Billy Q opportunities like that, man. He's gonna do something very brutal. But at the same end, you gotta be worried. Billy Q gets smashed a lot in his first rounds, but we'll see, man. But I gotta go with Billy Q. I'm gonna say by third round finish.
Now, next up in the flyweight division, we got a rematch between Andrea Lee, she's 11-4, and Roxanne Modeffari is 24-17. Currently, they got Andrea Lee minus 325. The comeback on Roxanne Modeffari is plus 265. So they fought before. Roxanne won the first time. A lot's changed since then. If you look at the stats, actually, Andrea Lee's got Roxanne covered in every area, striking and grappling. I think she wins this fight, man. I think she probably comes out here, wins a decision. It's just I'm worried about, Andrea Lee off her back. She does give up a lot of easy takedowns, and Roxanne Modeffari is known for playing spoiler. She beat a Shevchenko in Russia, got a 30-27 there. She, beat Macy Barber this year, which was the biggest or second biggest upset of the year. So she's got a knack for the upset, but I'm a slightly lean Andrea Lee to edge this one out on the scorecards.
Yeah, I feel like this is a good fight for Andrea, man. I feel like Roxanne, she had the nice win over Barber, but I honestly feel like it's gonna start coming back down. I feel like Roxy had a good run, but I do see it, I don't want to say coming to an end because she's a nice chick and she has worked her way back up, but just the way the division's starting to trend, and I know Andrea's lost her last two fights, but the one thing I will say, man, I honestly I saw some improvements in the Murphy fight. I know Murphy I know she was a big underdog and similar to line to what it is right now, but one thing we said going into that fight was like on the Marabarella fight, it kind of seemed like Murphy was like a completely different person, So like, and and I feel like Murphy's just a lot tougher. I mean, Murphy just fought Modeffari, so you know. I feel like Andrea had a better account of herself. When we look at that at the matchup against Murphy, I feel like Andrea, her issue is just the takedowns. Like you said, man, she gets taken down a lot, and she gets back up. It's just that she does give up the takedowns, but on the feet, man, I feel like she'll be able to get the points back if she can get back up. And Modeffari, she just enters the pocket in the same way. Kind of a very stubborn fighting style, a very predictable fighting style. So yeah, I think this is Lee's fight to win. As long as she doesn't get taken down too much, I think this is in the bag for her.
Co-main event of the evening in the lightweight division, we got a matchup between Khama Worthy 16-6 and Ottman Azaitar is 12-0. Currently, they got Khama Worthy -130. The comeback on Ottman Azaitar is +110. This is a really good fight, Shaq. I'm really excited about this. These two are probably going to stand and bang until one man falls. So I guess it's a thing where it's like, has Khama Worthy, is he truly a new man? That's basically what it comes down to in my eyes, because like a lot of those knockout losses were at featherweight, so he's only well, not the Paul Felder one, but aside from the Paul Felder one, they've all been at featherweight. So is it a case where he was cutting too much weight? Because he's definitely grown into that 55 frame. I mean, he's tall, he's got the reach, he's an ox, he's just a strong dude. You can tell how hard he hits too, man. But Ottman Azaitar's got that one-punch knockout power, no questions asked. So we're really going to find out. And I respect the Azaitar brothers outside the cage too. They're some real badasses. But it's basically going to come down to, can Azaitar knock him out or not? I'm going to lean Khama Worthy because I feel like he's showing more, but this fight could go either way. But I'm going to take Khama Worthy slightly.
See, man, this fight's interesting because I'm leaning one side a lot more. I actually think this is a good fight for Worthy because, when we want to know if guys have, really turned the corner, for example, like for example, Maki Pitolo, for example, he was, he was undefeated at 185s, and he beat Charles Bird, and then we saw what happened the next two fights, man. But I feel like with Worthy, man, like if you want to prove that you're really this new guy, like for example, Charles Bird, we know he's like 37 years old, he retired after, but like if we want to see like a new guy, how about you start fighting these young prospects, when you're like 30, 34, and these guys are like 25 and, they got all this hype and you finish them, not, a close decision, it was as in Luis Pena couldn't take anymore and he wanted to go home, Devontae Smith, he got hit on the chin one time and he didn't know where he was. So I like Azaitar. He swings these big overhand rights, but just from like watching that fight with Pacquiao, I can tell that he's very reliant on that overhand right. And this would be honest here, Teemu Pacquiao doesn't belong in the UFC, never will, never has. I know he got a win or two. I forget who it was against, but against
Thibaut Goody.
Yeah, the French guy. Of course it was a French guy, but Teemu Pacquiao is a joke. Look at the fight before that. He went out the same way. Like, so I can't put too much stock into that win. I feel like the odds should be a little wider. He's proven a lot more. Like, he beat two relevant guys, as where this guy, you look at some of those local scene fights with Ottman Azaitar, he's taking big punches, and I have a feeling that, if he gets into the second round, that he's going to be very, very tired. He's very reliant on that overhand right. I can see him like falling out of position on his feet against Pacquiao, but obviously Pacquiao is no threat at all. Like Pacquiao couldn't even win a fight in the NFC, and me and you both know that. Like, who you got between Pacquiao and Ra? I mean, like, like Timu Packalin is a joke, like a bum. Like there is no other way. Like I feel like Khama Worthy, like man, like he proved himself, man. You come out there with these, he's very alert in the pocket, and yeah, he might be a little stiff, but man, I really feel like if this fight gets extended, if he can avoid that big right from Azaitar in the early goings, and like you said, his knockout losses at 145, so I think the weight was a factor as well. But man, the dude is just oozing a confidence, man. When I hear him talk, if this guy feels like he might just go on the street. Not saying he's gonna fight for the title or anything, but it just seems like he's very, very determined right now. I know the Azaitar brothers are gangsters and this and that, but ain't nobody can save you. And when you're in that cage, and it ain't like they're not. If they were in Abu Dhabi, then I'd be a little bit more worried. I'd be like, oh man, I know they're out there trying to probably threatening Khama Worthy to throw gasoline on him and stuff like that, but if you guys haven't heard what the Azaitar brothers are are known for. But I got Khama Worthy in here in this fight, man. I feel like he's proven himself, and when you not just beat guys, but you finish them, like Luis Pena, I feel like he deserves to be more of a favorite in this spot, man. I feel like he truly has paid his dues, and and that's just we see that a lot, man. And look at the guys he lost to. At least they were all in the UFC, man. It's not like he was taking knockout losses, like for example, to like Jalin Turner, like to bums off the street. Like this guy was actually losing to credible guys. I think it was more of a weight thing. I mean, you see how big and thick he is at 155. Man, I think he comes out here and really makes a statement. I think he gets 50 G's and finishes Ottman Azaitar.
Main event of the evening, we got Angela Hill. She's 12-8, and Michelle the Karate Hottie Waterson is 17-8. Currently, they got Angela Hill minus 125. The comeback on Michelle Waterson's plus 105. This is an interesting fight. I like the progress that that Angela Hill's made. I feel like she's getting better every fight, but I still got a lot of questions. I got questions about the ground game and about what happens when fights are extended. So while I do think that Angela Hill, she actually has more depth in her game, she's got even better hands, and Michelle still has, the side kick, the head and arm throw, and the back take. I feel like 5 rounds versus 3 rounds is very different. In 3 rounds, I favor Angie, but in 5 rounds, I feel like Michelle can get one back take and possibly end the fight. I know I'm not sitting here calling her, some black belt or anything, but what I'm trying to say is like she took Joanna Jędrzejczyk's back, and Joanna's never been submitted before. Angela Hill's been submitted more than once, so I could see a submission. I could see it being a close fight. I just think it's a pick'em fight, so I'm gonna slightly lean with Michelle Waterson at the dog odds, and we'll see what happens Saturday night.
Yeah, man, I feel like this fight's interesting because I feel like they want Angela to win. I feel like this kind of is her fight to win, just because she's kind of falling short, and they're giving her another opportunity, and it's like what I'll say is, I mean, it's not like Karate Hottie's gonna outwill anybody or out tough anybody. Like, it's gonna be can Hill avoid all the little point bullshit to make this fight, possibly close, which could lead it to being a split decision, which could leave somebody very upset at the end. I feel like Karate Hottie really hasn't made that much improvements. I feel like she's scared of a real firefight, obviously. I mean, I know she took some L, like the finish losses to Nama Yunus, but let's not forget about the ones prior to the UFC. I know you remember when she was tapping that mat against Erica Tabercio and Invicta. Like, she's had her fair share of stunts as well. Like, let's not forget Angela Magana also took her down, but like, I feel like Michelle, she's a good tactical fighter, from Jackson's, all that. But I feel like when it's really time to bite down and fight, she does not have that, and Hill actually does. Now, the issue with Hill is I feel like this whole Angela Hill, when she gets to her finish, I feel like she is at her finished product, man. I don't think she's gonna. I feel like she's, what she is now is what she's gonna be. Like, she's 35 years old. I think, she she kind of like comes out very fast and kind of hits a wall with the fatigue and but she's tough, man. One thing I'll say with Hill is I think she does have the will. Like I feel like she does have that dog in her, from that Chow Nan fight I saw it, the Gadelia fight I saw. I feel like, you put Karate Hottie in some of those spots and she might fold. So I actually got Hill in this fight. I feel like it's more leaning to her. It's just hard to trust her at chalk just because, she lost to Courtney Casey by split decision. She's had the Randa Marcos fight. Even though I feel like she's gotten better, but a lot of the streak that she went on, let's not forget, she took a step down in comp. Man, she fought like Loma and Hannah Cyphers and another debutant, Carnelossi. So, I feel like that's why she kind of was able to get some wins. But I respect that. But I'll go with Hill. I just feel like she's tougher. I feel like it'll be 2-2, and I feel like she'll do more to get the win. So I'll go with Hill.
So normally we do the fight to watch and fighter to watch, but I'm running out of studio time, so let's go ahead and wrap this thing up. You can follow Shaq at MMA Genius 05. You can follow me at Best Fight Picks. Get our plays at bestfightpicks.com. Subscribe to Half the Battle on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, Stitcher, Spotify, all the places where we are available. And also, I got some cool written work and some other video content at linemovement.com, so y'all should check that out. But yeah, get our plays at bestfightpicks.com. We will be back next week for the next card. And until the next time, let's cash these bets.